What's going on, guys? WhiteFox1225 here with another video, and today we're talking about Mafia 3. So we got 12 new minutes of gameplay to talk about and lots of new details from that gameplay video that IGN did. So a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it. First off, we learned a lot more about the open world. So obviously Mafia 3 will be an open world game just like Mafia 2 was. And you know, one problem with Mafia 2 was there wasn't a lot to do in the world. Like, it was an open world, but really there wasn't much to do besides the story missions. But that's going to be different in Mafia 3. There is going to be a lot to do. But they said all this stuff is going to have to do with your progression through the game. So there's a lot of things you don't have to do for the main story, but you can do, like, you know, certain crimes that are going to get you money, or, you know, maybe taking down a rival, you know, gang. Things you don't necessarily have to do, but, or, you know, you can do. They said they really wanted to make it so everything you did, even if it was something, you know, miscellaneous, it had to do with your progression through the, you know, the ladder of crime and moving up in the world. So that's what they went for. Sounds like it's not as big as Grand Theft Auto, where you could pretty much do anything in the world you wanted to, you know, on boats or bikes or whatever. Sounds like maybe it's not that free, but a lot more free than Mafia 2 was. Another thing about the open world, just that I noticed personally, is that it looks beautiful. So the game does take place in New Orleans, which we found out when the game was announced, but the art direction and just the style is absolutely beautiful. The lighting they did a really good job with. Overall, it just looks really great, and it really captures that New Orleans vibe. But moving on to some of the gameplay, let's talk about the sneaking. We saw the sneaking really briefly in the gameplay demo, but it looks like there are going to be like some certain like eavesdropping techniques that you can use to learn information without being noticed. Sneaking is definitely a viable way to play the game, so you can sneak around using cover, because like it is a third-person shooter, so obviously there is a cover system. But you can sneak, and you can also do these really brutal takedowns. So when you sneak up on an enemy, you can take them down stealthily, sometimes with a knife. Sometimes you, like, you know, crush their skull into the ground. It's really brutal, and pretty much all the combat in this game is really brutal. There's a lot of blood, and when you shoot someone, when you hit someone, when you stab someone, you can really feel the impact. And you know, it's something that I can't really explain other than if you watch the gameplay and see it. The sounds they make and just the visuals, it feels like you're actually hitting someone or stabbing someone. It's really cool, and it feels like the combat has like a really big punch to it. You know, it has, like, you know, some substance, which is kind of hard to explain, but I think when you watch the gameplay you'll definitely know what I mean. There are stealth takedowns, also just takedowns. If you run at someone, you know, take their weapon and punch them. But you know, takedowns are a big part of the gameplay, and you can do this stealth. But there are a couple options, so you don't have to do stealth. You could go in guns blazing. So there's definitely a couple ways to, you know, approach missions. They also said that, you know, for some missions there's gonna be separate exits and entrances. So really, how you take on a place is up to you. One thing we learned is that you're going to unlock those takedowns as you go throughout the game, so you're not always going to be able to do every takedown as you go. You're going to have to learn them as you play the game. Now, another thing we learned from watching and the developer talking is that the AI is going to be a little bit more aggressive in this game. They're not afraid to charge you, definitely not stupid, and they're just going to wait around for you to shoot. They're going to, you know, try to flank you, try to rush you, so you're going to have to, you know, stay on your heels and be ready for that. They also said the game is going to encourage you to switch weapons a lot. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but throughout the gameplay demo we did get a look at all the weapons, and they all looked equally deadly and really, you know, like I said, like they really pack a punch. So definitely excited to, you know, use some of the guns, but they did say it's going to encourage you to, you know, switch weapons a lot. Not really sure how they're going to do that, if you're going to have like not a lot of ammo. Not really sure, but they did say that in the demo, so I thought I would mention it. Moving on, let's talk about the driving. So the driving looks really physics-based, a lot of sharp turns and stuff like that. So it does look to have a bit of a learning curve. If you have trouble driving games like me, like in Grand Theft Auto, it looks like it might be a little bit more difficult. But it also looks really kind of like over the top. They said they kind of want you to feel like you're in a Hollywood movie. So there's lots of explosions. You know, when you hit someone, they kind of go flying. Maybe, you know, a little bit over the top, but you know, it looks really cool, and it gives you, you know, that cool feeling of being in an action movie or something. So cars can explode if you hit them with explosives, and you know, you can drive people off the roads. We also saw this one part where Lincoln got out of his car, and the car kept going and just crashed into a bunch of people. So the car definitely is like a big part of the combat, and you can definitely use it to kill people, and you know, it's pretty deadly. So there is definitely going to be some vehicle combat in the game, and I'm sure the game will put you in some situations where you have to use it. Another thing I noticed is that there's a mirror on top of your screen when you drive, so you can kind of see what's behind you without looking, kind of like if you were in a real car. That little mirror right in front of you is going to be on the top of your screen when you're driving. I just noticed that during the demo. They didn't even mention it, so I thought it was kind of, unique, and I thought I'd mention it in the video. Another thing the car can be used as is an interrogation method, actually. There's just one way to interrogate people where you put them in your car, and if you drive crazy enough, they'll tell you the information you want, which is kind of cool. I'm sure there'll be parts where you have to use that. Maybe it'll be optional in other parts for interrogation, but it did look pretty cool in the demo. Last thing, let's just talk about the story because they did mention it in the demo. So the story does have multiple endings, we learned, so that's pretty cool. Something I really like to see in games. And a big part of like the endings and the way the game unfolds is which one of you lieutenants you give more territory to, which ones you favor, and which ones you really work with. So if you guys don't know about the lieutenants, there are going to be some lieutenants helping you, and you really are building a crime family in the game. So which one that you favor will have an impact on the ending, they said. Well, there's also going to be some moral choices and just random choices that don't involve lieutenants at all that are going to be in the game. So right now we're looking at a 2016 release date for the game. No more information, but as soon as we get more details, I will make another video. Pretty hyped for this game, guys. There seem to be a lot of people excited about the game. So if you guys want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, give it a like. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for a lot more videos in the next couple of weeks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.